Hey everyone, welcome to our guide on Brad Warden the Centaur. We are PhysicsMathMan and LuminousInverse, and today we will discuss Centaur's skill build, role, and item choices. Centaur is a melee strength hero who is a center of the fight tank, as he boasts the highest strength gain out of all the heroes. Let's take a look at his skill set. Hoof Stomp, his first move, is a basic stun that hits a small radius around Centaur. It has a pretty obvious cast animation, so landing it against certain heroes can be difficult. The damage and stun duration is more than decent. The second move, Double Edge, deals a high burst of magic damage to an enemy and to Centaur. You can never kill yourself with Double Edge, but do be careful using it in the center of a big fight. The ability's small AoE is also very useful in both farming and punishing really clumped up enemies. His third move, Return, is a passive that deals physical damage back to the attacker based on a percentage of Centaur's strength. It not only makes you harder to deal with in the laning phase, but during the mid game it's handy for jungling and clearing out big creep waves. If you got a couple of strength items, enemies have to pay the price for right clicking you down late game. It's also important to note that Return will damage towers, so it's an extra means at chipping away at a tower whenever possible. His ultimate, Stampede, is an insanely useful spell, which gives your entire team haste and the ability to phase through units for several seconds. Furthermore, if you or your teammates run into an enemy, it will slow them and deal damage based on Centaur's strength. With an Ag Scepter, your team can move through terrain and shrug off most incoming damage like it's nothing. For the most part, Stampede is extremely helpful for your allies to speed them through the fight that you've already initiated. There is one true skill build for Centaur with little variation. Double Edge will be the first ability you want to max since it does the most damage and costs no mana, and it also has the lowest cooldown. It's also going to hurt Centaur like hell, but generally they're going to die before you do. Taking a point in return early in the laning phase can be a good idea if you're facing a ton of physical harass, especially from supports that have very weak HP or armor, like Skywrath Mage or Crystal Maiden. But keep in mind that taking return means you're delaying maxing your 2 nukes. The goal of Centaur's early game is to hit level 6 in a reasonable time without dying. Being an offlane melee hero without any sort of long-range spell, he cannot directly contest for farm in the laning stage. However, there's still many things you can do. For instance, dropping an Observer Ward to block the enemy pull camps, blocking your own creeps as they go, distorting the enemy's creep equilibrium, going for the runes before they spawn are just some of the things you can do to win your offlane. Make sure to keep your HP high all the time. Not only will it be that much more difficult for your enemies to kill you since you're already naturally tanky, but you can actually charge in and stun if your teammates come and help you gank. A good pickup for the offlane is Tranquil Boots, because you really could benefit from the regen. You can also momentarily drop the boots, last hit, and then pick them back up. Doing so will maintain the passive regen. Just be careful not to get your boots sniped. The last bit of your early game will be farming for your Blink Dagger, either in the jungle or momentarily taking some farm in the other lanes. There's going to be that awkward period in the game where you're 500 to 700 gold away from your dagger and your team needs you to fight. Make the best judgment before joining these fights because farming that blink is literally the most important thing for Centaur. Once your blink is online, the weight of the entire team is now on your shoulders. You are in charge of the ganks and the team fights, because there's no other hero on your team with a better initiation burst damage than you. Judging from the enemy lineup, single out the most important hero and gank that poor soul repeatedly. Remember, you're a team fight starter and less a solo ganker, so usually you want to take a support and a smoke with you. If ganking is not a good option, consider hiding in the fog behind your carries and counter gank whoever tries to mess with your carry. Even if you don't get a counter kill, Stampede is most likely going to get your carry out of trouble. A well-played Centaur at this point should rarely farm on the map, since every time you appear, the enemy knows they are safe from ganks. Instead, grab whatever farm you can out of the jungle and farm heroes instead. When it comes to late game fights and base breaking, your goal is to jump in and stun, and soak up the initial damage the enemy throws at you. If there's no high priority targets, consider beelining for the supports. They either have to waste their stuns on you, which is great for your carries, or they just have to back out of the fight altogether, which is also great for your team. Apart from your short cooldown spells, Centaur offers a ton of utility when it comes to different item activations. Be that annoying frontline tank that your enemies somehow have to get past in order to get to your carries.
Centaur's 2 nukes require him to stand at melee range from the enemy, and despite the fact that Stampede is a good way to get you in, Blink Dagger is the most important item for Centaur. Afterwards, a mixture of tanky or mobility item is all Centaur really wants. Let's take a quick look at how we itemize Centaur for our games. In game 1, I start with Tango, Salve, 2 GG Branch, and a Ring of Protection for my Tranquil Boots. I'm solo offlane against Necro, Witch Doctor, and Silencer, so it wasn't the best of times. But I got decent levels anyways because I blocked their pull camp, and when my teammates came to gank at level 6, we got 2 quick kills out of the deal. Then I noticed that Zeus is putting a lot of pressure on their Shadow Fiend mid, so I swing by to get a gank there as well. After blinks, I just looked for team fights and landed a couple of multiple hero stuns. I went for Aghanim Scepter afterwards. The damage reduction is absolutely insane against Necrophil's Reaper Scythe, and he pretty much never got a single kill with it after my axe. The game ended quickly after my axe because my team was just too tanky for them to deal with. In retrospect, I think a pipe would have been really nice against the magic damage they had as well. In game 2, I dual lane bot with my boy Tsunami against a tri-lane. I drew first blood and gave my lane mate a kill, so things were going pretty well, till they ganked me like 5 times. My Blink Dagger was really delayed this game, but as soon as I got it, it was revenge time for all the ganks they did to me. Cue that montage music. Then I went for a Force Staff and Aghanims to close out the game. Same as game 1, Axe just made my PA so tanky that we just killed them under the tier 4 towers no problem. Centaur has a bunch of situational items, but Force Staff and Aghanims is your go-to 90% of the time because they're so great for both offensive and defensive purposes. If you're looking to play defense in other ways, consider Blade Mail, Blacking Bar, or Pipe. Heart gets a special mention because it makes return hurt like hell, and I oftentimes stack multiple hearts in the late game and there's really no way the enemy team could deal with you.
Alright guys, let's wrap this up. Here are 3 things you can take away from this video about Centaur. Number 1. Hoof Stomp, Double Edge, and Stampede, plus a couple of right clicks, deals around 750 raw damage at level 9. If you see those squishy supports or a carry hero, have a go at them. Number 2. Farm neutrals and heroes only. Always be off the map to be a threat to the enemy team. And number 3. Stampede is supremely useful in starting a team fight. Once you blink in and initiate, you can then use Stampede and engage your allies immediately. Brad Warden the Centaur is a formidable hero, bringing Disable, Nuke, and Teamfight. Even in high skill matches, a well-played Centaur will litter the proving grounds with the dead. Videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Like and subscribe. PhysicsMathMan signing out.